All right, when we come
Thank you,
back,
Richard.
the survivalist Stefan Verstappen, forming communities. Stay with us.
You're listening to The Richard Syrett Show on Newstalk Saga 960 AM.
Hey, welcome back. Every Monday, we help you to prepare for the worst. Emergency preparedness, and whether it's a 48-hour power disruption or perhaps something more long-term, a disruption to the supply chain, infrastructure issues, the total collapse of civil order, you need to know how to take your freedom into your own hands, create mutual aid support, and survive the coming collapse. Stefan Verstappen is our emergency preparedness expert, and the website is formingcommunities.com. Stefan, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing good, Richard. How was your long weekend?
Fabulous. Thank you. Fabulous. So, you wanted to talk about we just touched on forming communities last week, I guess, and what that means to form a community and the types of people that you should include and why you should form a community. You wanted to talk about something called plans, rendezvous, and retreat today?
Yeah, well, I figure we'll mix it up a little bit because talking about how to create communities will take up every Monday for the next 6 months. So, so that people don't get too bored of me just talking about community, I thought we'd just add something else to it. And this is a crucial element, and that is you need to make plans on what to do if. For example, let's say it's an average day, let's say it's 4 o'clock on a Monday afternoon, and now all the power goes out. We don't know why. It could be a fire, it could be a flood, it could be an EMP, it could be a cyber attack. The power goes out and the cell phones go out. Now, let's say you're an average family, husband, wife, 3 kids. Husband's at work. Probably the wife is at work too, because the economy these days, it's almost impossible for a family to survive on a single income. So I'm assuming that most people, husband and wife, are both working. So the husband's at the office, the wife's at the office. You got 3 kids, maybe 2 are in high school, and 1 is still in middle school.
Right, you're all scattered.
You're all scattered, and now the power goes off. What do you do? How do you get a hold of your family members? To me, this is like the most terrifying thing, because now you don't know what's going on. You're all isolated and separated from each other now. As we would assume that everybody would try to go home. So here's your plans. This is something you need to sit down with your family and discuss this. So the plan A, and we've been through this a few times, Richard. Everybody needs a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So plan A is everybody makes it home. But what if they can't make it home? You need to check with your schools, first of all, to see that in the case of a national disaster or a power outage, will they even let the children out of the school? Most schools will have a lockdown policy, and they'll keep the kids at the school. So you need to know what that policy is. Now, I'm going to take the role of dad on this, and it's dad's job to round up all the family members and make sure they're safe. So plan A is, if something goes wrong, the power goes out, if there's a disaster, go home first. But this might be a problem. You might not be able to get home. I'm looking at the examples we've had over the last couple of years with the wildfires in California and the wildfires in Australia and the floods. You might not be able to get home. So what is the plan now? Are the kids going to be stuck at school? Is the wife going to be stuck at the office? Is the husband going to be stuck at the office? What is the plan? So here's what you need to do. Number 1 plan is everybody try to make it home. And again, you have to check with your school to make sure that they're going to let them out. Number 2 is a rendezvous location. Let's say you are living in California or Oregon or Vancouver Island, and there's a fire. You can't make it home. Now, how do you get everybody? You can't make it home. You might not be able to get to mom's office and the kid's office and round everybody up. So the first plan you need to make is a rendezvous location. So a rendezvous location is a place Stay within 5 miles of where you live. And preferably, this location would be the home of a family member, maybe grandma's house or Uncle Bob or whoever. Or if that's not available, the home of a close friend, a family friend that lives, again, 5 miles away from you, but it might be easier to get to their place than it is to get to your own home.
All right, Stefan, we're going to take a quick time out here. We'll come back and we'll continue this discussion. Plans, rendezvous, and retreat. Emergency preparedness expert Stefan Verstappen, formingcommunities.com, the website. Back with more right after these.
Back to the conversation on The Richard Syrett Show. News Talk, Saga 960 AM.
Every Monday, Stefan Verstappen joins us at this time to talk emergency preparedness and forming communities. Right now, we're talking about, let's say the peanut butter hits the fan. There's a major disruption, a power outage. You don't know why. Your children are at school. You're at one workplace. Your wife is at another. You're scattered. How do you reconnect? So you have to have a plan. And then we were talking about a rendezvous. It reminds me as a kid, Stefan, our whole family, my dad and mom would take us to the CNE. And, my dad wanted to go to the horticulture building and my mom wanted to go to the Better Living building and we wanted to go to the Midway. So the plan was if you get separated, you meet at the Bulova Clock Tower because that was the most visible, the highest thing at the CNE grounds. Everyone could see the Bulova Tower wherever you were. So you made a beeline to the Bulova Watchtower. That's what you did in the event that you got lost or separated. So it's kind of that same idea, except that obviously on a much larger scale.
Yeah, the Boulevard Clock Tower is still there, and that was a great plan. And you need to make those plans. You need to make those plans if you go to the CNE, but you also need to make those plans for every day now because we don't know what's going on. We don't, there's a lot of bad news going around. So, unfortunately, most people don't have a family member within 5 miles or a close trusted friend that you can designate as a rendezvous location. So in that event, then you might want to do something like designate a 24-hour convenience store. At least you can get food and water there and they can wait inside or wait out front of the door. And you need to specify that dad will come and collect everybody. When you go to the rendezvous location, you stay there until dad picks you up. That's the way to do this. I was watching a movie the other day, a couple of days ago, called Greenland. I don't know if
Oh, yes, it's great. Terrific movie.
Good movie, right? I was surprised. And you see what happens there, okay? They all got separated. The son, the wife, the father, everybody got separated. And so the only thing that brought them together was we'll meet up at grandfather's house. And that was their retreat location. And we all need to designate a retreat location as well. Now, let's say this event occurs in Toronto and all of Toronto is locked down. So even if you find a rendezvous location within 5 miles, you might not be able to reach the rendezvous location as well, or you might not be able to stay there. So in that event, this is a plan B now, you all go to the retreat location. And this should be somewhere, let's say within an hour's drive of where you live, maximum 2 hours drive of where you live. And again, ideally, it would be a relative or a close friend, but it could also be something like a campground that you used to go to in the summertime. So here's the plan. Everybody meet up at the rendezvous location and you stay there for 2 days until dad comes and picks you up. If dad doesn't come and pick you up in 2 days, then you start to make your way to the retreat location. And among preppers, that retreat location is often called your bug out location. One last thing I would add to this, and that is, we talked a little bit about communications, having a ham radio. It would be great if mom and dad kept a ham radio in their glove compartment. You got about a 5-mile radius with that. And at least if the telephones go down and the cell phone goes down, you still have some possibility of getting a hold of mom and dad. And again, try to meet up at the retreat location. And then you stay there until mom and dad get there and pick everybody up.
Now, let's say this is great advice. So everyone should have this conversation, obviously, with their family, now. and occasionally, send out reminders. Remember this, quiz your children. What is the rendezvous location? What is the retreat location? Make sure they know how to get there, obviously, from their school. What happens? Maybe have them. You would do probably like rehearsals, right? Like drills.
You could do drills, yeah. The other thing I would recommend is you print out the name, address, telephone number, and email address, and map location of the rendezvous and the retreat. So, I would go as far as printing it out on a card and laminating it. Give it to the kids. They keep it in their wallet, in their backpack, so that there's no, in case they don't remember where Grandpa's house is. And I remember when I was a kid, I didn't remember everybody's address. So print this out and keep it in the wallet. In case of emergency, I go to rendezvous location. I stay there 2 days. If mom and dad don't show up or they don't send somebody to pick me up, and again, another plan is to have a code word within your family in case I can't make it there, but I can get a hold of Uncle Buck. And Uncle Buck, I tell him, I said, listen, go to the rendezvous location, see if my wife and kids are waiting for me there. Can you go and pick them up for me? Or maybe it's a friend from the office, and then you need to have a code word so that when the guy comes there and he says, your dad sent me, the code word is April wine. Okay, then they know it's safe to go with him, and he's going to bring you to dad. Or he's going to bring you to the retreat location. We've got to think these things ahead of time. I know it sounds paranoid, but can you imagine a chaos situation, wildfire, floods, and you don't know where your wife and kids are? You would go nuts with worry. You would go insane. And what are you going to do then? It's too late to make a plan. How are you going to find them? You're going to drive around all over town. Maybe you can't even drive. The roads are closed down. So let's make these plans now, folks. Once you have the plans, print out the addresses, give them to the kids, give them to the wife. If you have a ham radio, keep one in the car. Again, we talked about this, $60 on Amazon for a Baofeng, a ham radio at least. And then, of course, agree on which frequency you'll be communicating on. Put that on the card as well. Then if an emergency happens, at least you can get your family together. Now, next week, we can talk about, let's say you didn't have this plan and everybody's scattered. How do you mount a search and rescue operation?
Wow, that's great. Stefan Verstappen, formingcommunities.com is the website, formingcommunities.com. Just take a moment here. We've got about 2 minutes. Tell people how they can enroll in this new online course.
So it's an online course. It's based on the upcoming book, The Complete Guide to Forming Communities. And just go to the website and there'll be a link to enroll in the course. You can also go to my other website, and that is chinastrategies.com, and I'll have a lot of information there as well.
All right, a quick word as well about the Survival Library. It's available at formingcommunities.com, the Survival Library.
The Survival Library, over 300 books in PDF forms for every possible scenario. It's got everything on there. How to grow gardens, how to improvise weapons, how to fish, hunt, you name it. Everything you might need during a disaster. All
right. And those are available as a PDF download. So download them, keep them someplace safe on a separate hard drive, and then eventually maybe print them out, I suppose, because you're.
I recommend you get it like a tablet or a Kindle reader or something like that. You can recharge those batteries using a solar panel, and then you can read them on your Kindle tablet. Keep the books on a flash drive, and so at any time you can have access to an entire library.
Fantastic. All right, Stefan, we'll talk again next week.
Thanks, Richard. Take care.
You too. Stefan Verstappen, formingcommunities.com.